Hello everyone, this is P.J.C. 2.0 and this is the first video of my Halloween group build series. I've decided to go and build Mothman first because he's not going to take too much to light. Right now I'm just taking the resin out of the mold. Let's see how these eyes turned out. Oh, that looks good. I like that. Let's see how the other one turned out. Now I'm going to have to do a test fit on these eyes. Make sure they fit into the eye sockets well. Oh, left eye. It's all good. Now I got to trim a little off of the right eye. And sand the back of it. Kind of diffuse the lighting a little. Alright. So far so good. The left eye fits perfectly. And it looks like the right eye fits in perfectly too. I'm really happy with how this looks. Looks a lot better than the kit supplied eyes. Let's see how they look lit up. Alright, now I just got two LEDs pressed in behind it with my finger to light these eyes. Now that looks really good. I'm really happy with how these eyes turned out. Alright, now I'm just taking all the parts off the parts trees. And then I'm going to glue them together. I'm going to sand down the seams. Hopefully without losing too much details. And then I'm going to putty all the seams, making sure I get every single gap. Now, I've already drilled out some holes for the wiring. That'll go up the leg, into the body, to the eyes. And that's why I've got a band-aid on my hand, in case you're wondering. Now, the majority of work in this kit will be in painting it. And I was going to do what Lou at Aztec Dummy did to his Mothman, but I don't know anything about that flocking method, and I ain't got the time for it. Alright, as you can see, I've sanded the Mothman name off of the base. And it took me about a half an hour to sand all those letters down. And that was a lot of work. Alright, now I'm going to give the base a new coat of primer. And this time I'm using the one-shot primer. And once that's done, I'm going to paint it with every blue color I have. And then I'm going to paint the tree stump. Alright, now I'm just gluing the right leg on. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and paint the tree stump. And I'm going to hit this thing with different colors of gray, black, brown. Basically every color I've decided to use on it. And I'm going to keep hitting it with those until it looks good. And then I'm going to wipe the whole thing down with a black wash. And once that's done, I gotta do the same thing to the tree limbs. Alright, now I'm gonna go ahead and paint the water scene around the base. And basically I start it with blue. And then I'm going to hit it with some midnight blue to try to give it that black water look. But I'm also gonna put some shimmering blue in there. Then I'm going to lightly spray over it again with midnight blue. And then I'm going to give it a glossy clear coat. Alright, the water is all painted. And now I'm going to hit it with All Clad Gloss Clear Coat. And using the shimmering blue was a good idea. I'm glad I did that. And now I'm just going to spray it with the clear coat until I get that glossy look of water. Alright, now I'm just lightly spraying this black over some of the areas of the tree stump to try to create some shadowing. And in truth, I don't know how an old tree stump in the middle of a swamp is supposed to look. I'm just painting this thing the best way I know how. and just doing what I can with what I've got, and hoping that it all turns out alright. Alright, now I'm gonna dust over it again with this brown color to try to break up some of that black. And I'm just lightly going around it, lightly spraying it. Alright, now I'm painting Mothman's body. And I've decided I'm going to give his wings a semi-gloss coat, and then I'm going to use some of the color shifting paints I have. Try to give his wings a little color and some character. And his body, I'm just going to paint with a flat black coat. And then I'm going to try some dry brushing on it to see what kind of result I get. And you remember what I said earlier, that originally I wanted to do this the way Lou Aztec Dummy did his, but I don't know anything about that flocking method he used, and I don't have the time to learn it. And if I decide to get another Mothman kit, I might try that flocking method on that kit. But for now, I just want to see what kind of results I can get with just painting it. Alright, I've masked off and I've painted the lily pads with a flat green. Now I'm just going to remove the masking and see how they turned out. Alright, the masking's removed, and it looks like they turned out okay. I'm happy with them. Alright, now I'm just adding some extra color to the wings. The first color I used was an insignia red. I lightly sprayed it on, as you can see. And now I'm going to use some of these color shifting paints that I have. This color shifting paint I'm using is a black with some sort of gold in it. And then I'm going to try some of the other color shifting colors I have and see what kind of result I can get from that. Alright, now I'm going to spray a little bit of a blue color shifting color I have here on the base around where the water is. And this color shifting color I have is a blue with a goldish color in it. And I'm not going to spray down the whole base with this. I'm just going to spray it on in some spots. I'm just trying to add a little more character to this water. Alright, now I'm adding another color shifting color to these wings. And to tell you the truth, I don't know what this color is. And most of these color shifting paints I just got them because they looked good and I thought I could find a use for them in one of my builds one day. And with this build, it looks like I've finally found a use. Adding an extra bit of character to Mothman's wings. Alright, now the wings have had a little time to dry, let's have a look. I like that. These color shifting paints, using them was a good idea, because they've definitely added some extra bit of color to the Mothman's wings, and in my opinion they've added a little bit of character to them. Now all I gotta do is clear coat them and then glue them on to Mothman's back. Also, the color shifting paint I used on the base has dried up pretty good. You can see it pretty well, and I'm happy with it. Alright, I tried something with the hands and feet, and I wasn't happy with it, so I'm redoing them. So right now I'm just repainting the hands and the feet, and then I'm just gonna dry brush them all over again. And then I'm going to paint the claws. And right now I'm adding some touches to the head, and then I'm going to re-dry brush it after I'm done painting the small details like the mouth. and the areas around the eyes. Alright, now I'm just adding some more dry brushing to the rest of the body, and the color I'm using is just light gray. And once all this is good and dry, I'm going to redo the hands and the feet. Just gonna dry brush them the same color, and then I'm going to paint the claws. Right now I'm seeing if the antennas, or whatever they're called, still fit on his head. And so far so good. They look like they still fit. Trouble is, I need to make sure I'm putting them in the right place, so I gotta look at the instructions. And yeah, it looks like they are in the right place, so that's good. Alright, now I'm just giving the wings a coat of gloss clear. The wings are going to get a glossy clear coat, and the rest of the body is going to get a matted clear coat. Alright, now I'm just taking some of the black wash I have, putting it on a paper towel, taking some of it off, and I'm just gonna rub the whole body down until I've got the whole thing covered in this black wash. And then once that dries, I'm gonna hit it with the black wash again, making sure I get every inch of the body and the head. And then once that's done, I'm going to glue the LEDs behind the eye holes. And I've decided I'm going to go with 2 5mm red LEDs. And then I'm going to glue the head on. Alright, now I'm gluing in the 2 5mm LEDs for the eyes. And I'm using the UV resin to glue the eyes in because I really don't want to mess around with super glue. And once that's done, I'm going to glue the head on. And I've decided instead to go with a 9-volt battery to light the eyes. Originally, I was going to run this thing on 3 or 5 volts. And I know where I can find a 3-volt battery with a recharging circuit, but I don't have the time to wait for that to get here, so I'm going to go with a 9-volt power source instead. Now the eyes are looking good. Now it's time to glue the head on. Alright, the head's glued on. Now let's test the eyes. So far so good. The eyes are working. I see a few seams here. I just put some more of this glue that I use in, and then press the head in real good. Now I'm just doing some touch-ups on the mouth. And I'm going to sit that down and let it dry. Alright, now I'm going to hit Mothman with this all-clad matte clear coat, making sure I get every single inch of this thing covered. And then I'm going to hit it with a hairdryer a few times to help it dry. Then I'm going to give it some more clear coat, and then I'm going to hit it with the dryer again. And then I'm going to let it dry naturally overnight. Alright, now I'm adding an extra bit of detail to the stump. I wanted to put something like a mossy texture on it, so I'm just using a little bit of super glue and this diorama grass I have lying around. And then I'm going to place that around it in some spots to give it some sort of a mossy look. Alright, the tree stump is done. The moss is glued around it, and I think it looks pretty good. Now I just gotta get it onto its base. Alright, now I went ahead off camera and epoxy glued Mothman's wings on. and the 2 tree stumps to the base. I also glued in that cattail plant and the little lizard. Now I just gotta let it all dry overnight, and then I'll hook up the wiring to the battery and the off and on switch. Alright, now I'm putting the final touches to this build. And this wooden base here with the hole cut out of it is what I'm going to epoxy glue the base to. And right now I'm just hitting it with a matte clear coat. Then I'm going to hit it with the hairdryer. And then I'm going to let it sit for half an hour before I epoxy glue the base to it. Okay, now I'm getting ready to solder the wiring to the battery connection and the off and on switch. And then I'm going to hot glue it underneath the base. Alright, now I'm getting ready to epoxy glue the stand to the base. And what I'm going to be using is JB Weld 5-minute epoxy. What I'm going to do basically is just mix the epoxy up, and then I'm going to use a brush and brush it onto the bottom of the stand. Alright, now I'm just taking a brush and brushing the epoxy onto the sides of the base, around the edges, making sure I get all of it. And once I'm done with this, I'm going to secure it to the wooden base and let it sit for a half an hour. Alright, now I'm gluing the final pieces onto Mothman, starting with his antennas. Just making sure I get the right ones in the right holes. And then I'm going to glue his eyes in. Okay, now I'm finally gluing in Mothman's eyes, and I'm basically just going to take some canopy glue and rub it around the eyes with a Q-tip, and then I'm going to place the eyes in the eye holes. Alright, the Mothman is all put together. Now all that's left to do is solder the wiring to the battery connection and the switch, and glue him to his base. And I've decided I am going to get myself another one of these Mothman kits. And that kit I'm going to put together differently. I'm going to build a diorama base for it. I'm not going to use the kit supplied base. And then we'll see how it turns out. Alright, now I'm getting ready to solder the last of the wiring to the battery connection. And then once all that's done, I'll be gluing Mothman to his base. And then this build will be done. Alright, the wiring is all soldered together to the battery connection. I'm going to put a battery in and test the eyes, make sure they're working. And so far so good, the eyes are working. Now I just gotta get Mothman glued onto the base. Okay, now it's time to glue Mothman onto the stand. And what I'm going to use is basically this Modeler's brand super glue. And then once that's done, this build will be finished. And I have to say that I'm happy with how this kit turned out. For me, this was a good kit to start this year's Halloween group build off with. It did have a few issues, but nothing that I couldn't solve. And because Mothman is one of my favorite cryptid creatures, I'm glad this kit came out. I hope they come out with a flying version of this kit. If they do come out with a flying version of this kit, I will definitely be getting one. here's where I'm going to end this video with the beauty shots of this model all finished up. Hope you enjoyed the build, and feel free to subscribe.